to the PiP Podcast.
Good evening.
What? Well, today I'm sure we have, or tonight rather, we have a good amount of topics to talk about. So, is there anything particular you would like to start off with, Senor Khaled?
Let's see. I think this touches in both some games and into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Have you heard of Core Games? That company?
I have actually. I think I saw the article you're referring to.
So during this 2020 celebration from Dungeons and Dragons, they brought in a few icons or legends within the D&D streaming community. They had their stories told to some core game designers, and then they made their stories into actual videos using the assets from it. So what core is just that it's free to play and it's free to design. So you can go in there. They give you a bunch of things like taverns and just amazing amounts of things. And you could technically take your stories or your dungeons and then turn them into basically levels, games that you want people to run. And you can post them for free. And yeah, so people just can play. It's really cool. But yeah, so that's Core Games. Should be coregames.com. But yeah, definitely Core is the name of them.
I think they're also holding like a contest.
Yes. So their contest ended already, and they did the announced the winners on this stream, like design your dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what they did. They're really good entries, and it's very funny because Xavier Wood from WWE, because what each person was supposed to do was just tell their story and just regale everyone of what went down and how it went. And as they're doing it, they would play the gameplay of it, and it's just as their story was playing out. But Xavier Wood is such a big nerd that as he's talking about it and trying to look at the video, he's too busy nerding out to his fact that his story is now in in actual video game form. So it's really cool looking, especially for anyone who's into world building or just game designing. It's a really cool start, I think. But yeah, that's really it for that little spot for now. What do you have for us?
So on the topic of tabletop RPGs, I think I have a good concept for a homebrew tabletop RPG.
Okay. What is it like?
So, okay. You will know that I had a idea for a video game based on the Fate series kind of thing.
Yes.
Now, it wouldn't be exactly Fate, but it would have the same concepts of a war kind of thing. Okay. So, the Holy Grail War, and you have people fighting against each other, maybe max of 8 players could play at once, probably.
Okay.
So I had this idea. What if I took aspects from that and converted it into a tabletop game? And one of the first things I thought of was it would be really hard to make a map for that. But then I had a good idea. What if you make little segments? So take a game mat, right?
Okay.
A pretty big one, and you cut it into squares. Each one of those squares you have drawn out differently. So you could have a cityscape kind of square, right? Or chunk. And then you could have a park chunk, a school area, stuff like that. And you let each player choose what area they want to be theirs. So that's where they start at. So they choose their area, and then it's sort of like a matchup game to see who's going to fight who. And the more you win, the harder it kind of gets, because I think it would be based on whose square you're touching to see who you'd get matched up against.
Okay.
And the more you win, the more squares you take, so the more people you could be matched up against.
Okay. So it would play almost like not like but like Risk in a way. Territories
sort of like Risk. I think there would be like a point system to where you could point buy in like some sort of hero, and that would be who you fight as, although you yourself would be a character more or less. As in, like, RP wise, you the player are taking care of, you know, your area, while you send or ask your hero to defend or attack, kind of thing.
All right.
So it sort of brings you into the game instead of like excluding you and only having this manifestation that you make. You know what I mean?
No, I do. Yeah.
And I think there would be like certain class restrictions, different kind of magic schools, as in like, you know, not taking different schools of magic, but also schools of magic from D&D, but like gravity magic, stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Different scenarios. So maybe instead of having a giant all-out battle between everyone, it could be everyone trying to stop a single force.
Oh, okay.
Or a special event that happens during the game. And then there will be like abilities that you could choose for your hero to have. And the point buy system would be like maybe what you start off with in the game. And the more points you get, you could buy different items to help out or unlock different abilities for your hero to use. And once you defeat another player, you'll automatically get like a set number of points and whatever points they had left over. And that's how you'll get more. And or, you know, the special events, or, you know, completing like different little achievements inside of the game.
That'd be interesting.
But the cool thing is that it could scale up. So it could be like you could have 4 people, but it would be better with more. So you could have like a giant war game table, like you use with Warhammer, but you just scale up how many square like modules or chunks that you put on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes, I get you. That'll be very interesting.
So you could either make it like a line, or you could like widen it out to be like an actual square, like a giant square. And you could even randomize who you fight. So you could have like a D4, or actually, no, we'll just use a D4 for example. Each side it's touching, like another square is touching. Those could be the people you get matched up against. Or you could have it to where you declare who you want to fight, stuff like that. Either way, it would probably depend on which scenario.
Exactly.
And if you wanted it to be harder, that would probably be the randomized attack. Also a system to where like if you attack, maybe you have to like wait a turn and recuperate before you can use all of your abilities. So if you attack and then you get attacked, you'll be at like a disadvantage.
Okay. So basically there would be like a debuff or a cooldown. Sorry, so there'll be like a cooldown thing to it.
Yes, there would be a cooldown, but you can choose to ignore it and still attack if you think you can win, kind of thing.
Yes, but like saying any special attack ability or feature would be set to a certain thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, let me.
And then possibly putting like on the whole map a certain amount of items that people could go around, pick up, and they can keep it. Like actually have it on the board, like everyone can see it. And if they pick it up, then the next game they play in, they can actually like equip that item. So maybe it could be like people are fighting over these chunks to get to that item because you have to have like a walkway to it. And
Yes.
the chunks all around the item so no one can instantly claim it could all be like special event chunks.
Oh, okay. So even if something falls within their territory, it would still have to be claimed by them versus them just immediately getting it.
Yeah. And those special events will be randomly selected via just a dice roll depending on what terrain it is, whether it be like a city. Maybe if it's a city, it could be like just a quick time thing, like a building starts to collapse and block your way, and you have to do a few good rolls to get through it, to evade it. But then it would slow you down. Ultimately, it would still slow you down. You would have to find another way around that area. I think that's about all that I have for that for right now, though.
Okay. Every great idea starts somewhere, so yeah, sounds cool. Definitely be very interesting.
So, did you want to wait on Lovecraft Country until the end?
Oh, absolutely. But using that as a perfect springboard into the segue, something I'm excited about. So Jonathan Majors, the one who plays Atticus in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
So reportedly, he's actually going to. So for reportedly, he's going to be with Marvel.
Ooh.
So some MCU movie. So reportedly, it's going to be Ant-Man, and I say that it's rumor, but Kang the Conqueror keeps coming up. Do you know who Kang the Conqueror is?
I do not.
So you might have seen him like just vaguely in in Marvel comics or anything like video games or so forth. So Kang the Conqueror is this time traveler. Comes from the future, and that's exactly what he just does that. He's usually an enemy to the Fantastic Four. I think it's like the 31st century. I think he comes from. He's far there. But so yeah, he's known by his really outlandish, like big bellowy hippie, like if you think of like right when like psychedelic movies came out, Logan's Run and everything. He's wearing that kind of outfit, purple and green. Then he's just known for this big blue face. But yeah, so it'll be interesting see what he does. So he comes from like the 31st century. I was just confirming that one. But yeah, so Fantastic Four has run into him. He's been a villain for the Avengers before. And then just because of Ant-Man and the events of Endgame and time travel, I feel that's why Kang the Conqueror is going to be stepping up to bat again, reportedly. But should be interesting. I think he does a really good job when it comes to his roles anyways. Jonathan Majors. We'll see though.
I really enjoy him in Lovecraft Country.
Yeah, and it's a very it might be the unpopular opinion, but I actually like Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp more than I like the later Avengers movies. There's a little bit more heart to them.
Yeah.
I think it was just done better. But all good movies. But
I liked Endgame, but Infinity War was kind of bland to me. From being honest.
I mean, for me finally getting to see certain things on screen, I think that they were good for that. But again, the properties that Marvel have, it's really very interesting to me when Marvel is afraid to take a risk, because they'll take risk in the past, like Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew who they were, so comic book fans did, like your readers, but like average moviegoers didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. So the fact that they had this talking raccoon and this talking tree, and they're instantly loved, Marvel should go, it's okay, we can do whatever we want to do, and we're going to make $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so, like, for Endgame, the fact that you didn't see any of their other properties, just in the background, like, again, I'm not too sure of where their rights were sitting, but supposedly, even in like Netflix universe, the characters still belong to Marvel. So Iron Fist in the background running around, or just someone on a motorcycle with a flaming skull, would have been enough to get a standing ovation from the people who knew, you know what I mean? And that would excite people to go, who the heck were these people on the screen? Because look at Daredevil, while I'll say that Ryan Reynolds did a phenomenal job when it came to his promotions, Deadpool.
Yeah, I was like, Ryan Reynolds didn't do that.
Or did he? No. But yeah, so it's Deadpool. So there were the fans that knew the comic books, and there's fans because of the video game. But still, Deadpool was really an unknown character. But it was through the hype that fans finally see the trailer and like, oh my gosh, we're getting Deadpool, not the weird X-Men origin Wolverine no mouth Deadpool, but the real legitimate, this is amazing Deadpool. That hype is
loves Spider-Man.
Yeah, and hopefully, because I mean, Ryan Reynolds hanging out with Tom Holland is going to be just the amazing juxtaposition, because of Tom Holland is really reserved, but Ryan Reynolds acts reserved while he's trolling you in a good way. You know what I mean? Like the way that he acts. He's outgoing, and sometimes even when he's being quiet, reserved, he's still on the job of being just goofy. And I think that would be very interesting to see it. But yeah, so I mean, that right there should show that Marvel could, like, we can just do anything and it's going to be wonderful. And if it's not, it's going to be hard pressed to not be, because they can introduce, I mean, if you looked at the, I think it was the Comic-Con panel or the D23. You know what the D23 is?
I do not.
So D23 is Disney's there's a big like event, so they'll just show a bunch of movies and shows and things that are coming down the pipe. So sometimes they will remove themselves from Comic-Con because D3 comes and they're just going to show all this stuff anyways, and they want to make it a big event. And so a lot of stuff was just mentioned on that. And so Disney's things were just like what they're making, as Marvel itself, were just like this big expensive amount of things. Oddly enough, they finally showed the trailer for Marvel 616. So that's going to be a documentary for all those uninitiated in comic book lore. Marvel 616 is the universe that the main Marvel canon sits in. So like, not Ultimate Spider-Man, just your basic everyone. When they first started, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and so forth. Like, these are your original heroes. So 616 has, of course, the multiverse. So they kind of taking that concept. But what this is they're going to have like 8 different filmmakers, and it's going to be a documentary. They're going to go around and just talk to them about basically everything Marvel, what it meant to them, how did it change things. And so I'm a fiend for documentaries, good documentaries, because I know they showed a teaser where they're talking to the Japanese director of Spider-Man, the Japanese one, because working with that one, he's the reason why Power Rangers exist, which is a very crazy thought. that Spider-Man, and the director was really big on trying to get the actor to go into the Spider-Man's poses, even when they're weird and uncomfortable. And was like, that's just um, that Japanese just like worth ethic. It's like I want it to be as authentic as possible. But yeah, and then weirdly enough, with Japanese, you've seen the video of the Gundam, right?
Have I seen any of the Gundam?
Well, the video, they finally have a moving giant Gundam in Japan.
Yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah. Like people are like, oh, leave it to Japan. It's like, no, they had to. Like we're obligated to bring this to the world. Like
okay. I saw it like, make the motions of moving. But did it actually take a step forward, or did it just move its leg? Because I think it just moved its leg.
So the videos I saw, it seems as if it's sitting on a type of like dolly.
Yeah.
So it just pivots. So there's no weight put onto the mech itself. So it's kind of just on an axis, just so it can move around. Because he when it took a knee, it was kind of just lifting up and then lowering versus actually like kneeling down.
Yeah.
But the fact that it exists, like, it's very interesting. If I was like, hey, I'm gonna tell my little self, there's gonna be a giant Gundam in Japan that moves. I don't know. I don't know if it would be me going, well, duh, of course there's gonna be a giant Gundam in Japan, bro, and that moves, or would it be like, oh my goodness, a giant Japanese robot? I don't know. But yeah. So what else topics you got for us?
What would be a good one? Here, I'm gonna let you choose another one, and then we will go into one of mine.
Okay. So here's a really weird one, but I'm in love with this, and somehow, while I don't necessarily say that I'm promoting piracy, I really want to see this movie. So Anders Weberg, he's a Swedish director. So 2020 is the year that he's going to release his film I've been waiting for forever, which is called Ambiance. Okay. So what makes this movie so strange is that its trailer is 7 hours. Just its trailer alone. And the reason why the trailer is so long is because the entire movie is 720 hours.
That's a long one.
Let that yeah. And so there's like clips of it where sometimes it's just this weird, desolate, craggy area that just spans forever, and the camera's just basically just set there in place. And then there are screenshots though, and sometimes there's these weird, mysterious people standing in front of the camera. Just odd things. I think it would take about I think it's a month, maybe. Is that about right? Is that math out? About a month to play the whole movie.
So you said 720 hours?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do the math for you right now.
Or maybe a year. Maybe it's a year.
No, it would be 30 days. So
yeah, a month. Well, this is crazy. I think it would be very cool to have it, like, say, on, instead of having like wallpaper, you just have this movie playing, just this big movie just playing in like the background. So every time someone would come over the house, maybe they'll catch something different, maybe they don't. So the only problem with this movie is that, as artsy and experimental as it is, and as ambitious, then of course the director is equally so. So his plan is to show the movie at some like film festival and then just destroy the movie.
What?
As some kind of ode to the impermanence of life, or whatever reason he's supposedly doing it.
Are people even going to be able to see the whole movie?
Exactly. That was the question. Let's see. This was back in, my goodness gracious, trying to think when I first heard about it. I think it was like 2015, 2014, something crazy. So I don't know what he's planning to do. So some people think that he might screen it, and since it's a film festival, you just come in, sit down, and watch, and then leave, and you might catch something, you might not, kind of thing. Because I don't know. So but he has to play for a whole month. It'd be very interesting.
There's just one room, and there's that one guy that never leaves. He's just like on the floor in a sleeping bag.
And it could cause that kind of obsession, though, especially since there are like these weird, minute things in it, where a person's like, "No, I'm going to watch this film every day." Which I don't know. That would be kind of crazy, because I think what Avengers would take, like, so if you watch all the Marvel movies, it takes like I think that takes 30 hours. I think it's up to 30.
It's so long.
So let's push that to 30 days and just watch this film. So I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool, and I would actually love thinking about that. That would be really great to do as a I'm not artistic, it's just me wanting to do it, where you find like a rainforest or just the beautiful woods, and then you actually just put the camera there, protect it, and then just film for 30 days. So projecting that again, like I love the idea of just like that moving interactive wallpaper. So just dedicate a whole wall and then just have these animals and deer, and you switch over to night and day and have these like catch to see what you catch on there. Might catch a Bigfoot. I don't know. Who knows? Be very interesting though.
You catch like a group of just, I don't even know it, just like a weird group of people walking around with like bones like covering their body. You're like, whoa, what the crap?
Because I think there's like a family that was living underneath Fort Bragg. I think that was urban legend. That was true. The guy was like had his whole family living underground, and they're just like brought to the surface. It was just like slight cultish, but it might be a urban legend. But I think it's actually real.
So,
which is very. Mm-hmm.
Originally, like going back to like games, right?
Mm.
Tomorrow was supposed to be the day that Baldur's Gate 3 came out.
Okay.
And I think it's like early access. And who knows, it could still be tomorrow for early access. But on the Steam page for it now, it is next Tuesday, so 7 days from now, that's when it's getting released.
Huh.
Like, I guess maybe that's like the full release. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But it got me pumped to play this game tomorrow, just for it to extend a week. I was like, you did me dirty. You really did.
Well, yeah, hopefully that means that they'll start removing the bugs, because it's very interesting where in some aspects, like I don't know if you ever played like the original NES.
Yes.
So it's really interesting how acceptable it was to have to like blow in the cartridge, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, or you're playing and it just freezes kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then going, that's now unacceptable in today's standard. Like it's like, no, I wouldn't accept that. The game better work. But then just how hard some of these developers, well, the people working for these games are getting like pushed. It's very interesting seeing where it's just like, well, there now is weird things that have to get patched still. And we're like, that's just how it goes. I don't know. I think it's a very...
I think one of the reasons why it was more acceptable to just like blow in the cartridge back then is because people, like, it was way easier to just be like, oh, just turn it off and blow in the cartridge. It should fix itself, you know?
Yeah, because that was the way the device, like, the device worked, and it was new. And so it became just a part of just that Xenogeist, where it's just kind of like, that's what you do. We just have to blow in the cartridge.
It's really funny because on the back of all those cartridges, it's like, do not blow into the cartridge.
Yep.
But like, I think it's not the fact that it actually helps it. I think it's the fact that people think they're helping it.
See, that's a very interesting thing. Like, I feel like if you used like a duster, it actually would help a lot. Because there were times where there's a game that just would not work regardless, and then there would be the one kid that just knew how to just blow the cartridge, and then it would work perfectly. But you just have to know how to clean all the dust out. And then one of my buddies, his dad worked with electronics, and he uses it was just like a what's it called? It's basically like a Q-tip and wiping the device that's not scratching it up, and then it would work because he's clearing the dust off of it. That's it's very interesting where technology is. It's like, what will be a part of technology in the future? It's like, man, why did you allow that to be? why was that acceptable? Well,
so on another gaming thing, do you know what you know what Warzone is, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, their battle royale.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know this until literally like yesterday, but apparently Warzone and Zombies they're pretty close. It's too, like, even I think Warzone is made by like Activision, and Treyarch made Zombies and Black Ops.
Yeah.
Because Warzone is in the Modern Warfare game, which is, Activision.
Yeah.
But Activision actually, they had a patch that came out today, or an update rather, and it added all of these different, just like assassinations, skins, calling cards, emblems. So, for example, the assassination, of course you have to buy it, but you walk up to someone in Warzone and you can knife them in the neck and assassinate them normally. Well, this changes it to a hellhound from zombie spawns and explodes their head. It literally explodes their head. Like, you can see their eyeball land on the ground, and then lightning strikes and the hellhound disappears.
Is it becoming more like, because the assassinations are cutscenes basically, right? They're sequences.
They're
right?
sequences. Like, you can still kill someone if they're in the cut or in the assassination.
I remember that with what was it? Battlefield 3, where, I loved it, where it's like the person will grab, so especially like when you're just like on the ground just trying to crawl, and then someone turns you over, then knifes you and rips off your dog tag.
Yeah.
And just, what the heck is going on kind of thing. But there have been times where someone is doing that, like they're going through the motions of stabbing a teammate, and you kill them, and then the teammate does this weird, like, I'm dead, and then pops back up and runs away. Like, it's like, I don't know what just happened. But yeah, there's the weird, like, glitching of assassinations, which I think they're cool. Like, I do like the assassination, but I do just like it where it's just like, boom, the person's down, and I can just run around, versus like, now we're gonna have to play patty cake for a bit.
Yeah. One of the other things they added, they added 2 new guns, but those aren't really zombies guns. They added a spray. So in certain games, I don't know if you know this, because the only times I encountered it were like on Overwatch and more PC games. You can hit a button and you can hit like a spray, and you can spray it on the wall, basically, in the map. Well, they actually have the spray off the wall, which is the outline from Zombies. You know how, like, in Zombies you have the chalk outline of all the guns.
Yeah.
You can actually spray that on the wall now. And it's funny because that update came out today, and the Call of Duty Cold War, like Black Ops Cold War or whatever.
Yes.
That reveal trailer comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's sort of why they're doing it. But I've never seen Activision go hard into like zombies for Treyarch. So it was just interesting.
Yeah, we'll be very, I don't know. It's very interesting. So what is your opinions on like multiple Call of Duties? Like some people you'll hear like your video game reviewers where there's like, oh, well, it's just another Call of Duty shooter, man. But like, what are your feelings on that concept of like the multiple Call of Duties?
I feel like I like the idea because they're always making it better, you know? Because all the Call of Duties, they don't run on the same engine. And that might not be what people are actually like looking at. So if they rebuild an engine, it could be more reactive to being shot at and stuff like that, which I do enjoy that. But on the other hand, if I don't get the Call of Duty game when it first comes out, I'm probably not going to get that Call of Duty game because the other one's just around the corner.
Yeah, like that's very interesting. A very interesting thing since they do like leapfrog their developers, where you're just like, man, I'm now finally super good at this one, and then it's like, boom, get Call of Duty this. Like, I just got good. But it's very funny. I remember with Ghost.
Difficulties.
But yeah. I don't even know where that tangent went, but I will say though, I like the idea that Call of Duty keeps bettering itself, and it's for the same aspects where you have like your Madden games where your players or your actual like NFL players are changing with the online stats.
Yeah. So
in that aspect where you'll have it where people are like, well, why will you play Call of Duty? Madden is better. And that concept, or sports games, I play sports games, but it's like, well, sports games are the same thing, but they're getting better.
Yeah, and then they're almost identical in a way, because the only thing that changes in the Madden games are the players, you know, in the game, and the stats.
Yeah.
The things that change in Call of Duty, like multiplayer games, are the guns in the stats.
Yeah, it's correct. That's correct. I'm not saying, I don't know if it picked up, but I was saying that you could, I don't know if they still did it, but I know like one of the previous Maddens, you can actually hook up to the internet, and so like saying Super Bowl, and the stats would change. So say if there's a player that's injured, then it would actually injure your player, which is a cool thing. Some people hated it, but some people loved it because it made it feel just more real, more immersive. Just a little bit of an extra challenge. But yeah, it's very interesting because like FIFA and World Cup or Madden, they don't really change, but they do change. Same like Gran Turismo and was it Forza?
Forza.
There it goes.
It's sort of like that with Grand Theft Auto games as well.
Yeah.
It's just a different map.
Yeah, see, with Grand Theft Auto, though, like, it's very funny because they're almost... I don't know if it's just people respond positive to the weird activities you can do outside of playing Grand Theft Auto. Where it's just like, let's go play tennis, and they're just playing tennis or skydiving or doing something that has nothing to do with the story, and loving it. Some people, of course. And I don't know if that's the concept where they always wanted it from like the first Grand Theft Auto, or it's just kind of like the positive feedback causes them to like, let's put more stuff into it. Because it's almost like so one of the funny things is that like Walt Disney, a lot of people will complain about. So not a lot of people. Some people complain about like the remakes of the Disney movies. It's like, well, I saw it as an animation. I like it as animation. Why are they remaking it? But the funny thing is that one of Walt Disney's babies is Mary Poppins, and it's not so his concept wasn't to only make cartoons for his rest of his life, for just through the rest of Disney's lifespan. He wanted to make just grand stories, but animation allowed it. And that was why he went animation more. So like Sleeping Beauty with the dragon and Maleficent, and just it's easier to do that with art versus trying to do not even green screen, whatever they're rotoscoping and such. But like your movies like Mary Poppins, where now there's humans interacting with animated elements, then yeah, he loved that. And I think that now that we're at a point where we're doing it, I bet he would be like, no, this is what I wanted. I should tell these stories, but now tell them in a way where it's grand. Like the technology has now caught up with what Walt Disney wanted in his vision. Pretty deep. I don't know if Grand Theft Auto or Rockstar is thinking that same thing, but it'd be interesting if that's actually their plan.
Back on the 360, when Grand Theft Auto 5 first came out, me and my friends 100%, like as soon as the servers were good, because the initial like multiplayer for Grand Theft Auto, oh my god, it was horrible because they didn't comprehend how many people were going to be trying to get on it, you know?
Yep.
Well, we legit, like, we played around with missions, then we played around with just driving around, because that's my favorite part. We did races, and then we started golfing in Grand Theft Auto. And that was like, you would play golf in Grand Theft Auto and it'd last for like an hour, because we would just like keep going back, and it was just entertaining and stupid at the same time.
Yeah.
It's funny that you would play like Grand Theft Auto, a game about like, robbing and killing people, and you would just play golf in it.
Yeah. It's like you have to play a relaxing leisure sport for your hard day of just carjacking and getting stars. Like, it's a very interesting game. Grand Theft Auto is available in like Germany, Australia, but just censored, correct? Or is it one of the games on the list?
I don't know. It could be one of the games on the list.
Because the thing, what is it? Manhunt was on there, but no, like Rockstar said they're not making another Manhunt, which is sad, because I think that game was kind of fun, dark but kind of enjoyable. I think there was another one that everyone loves, but they're like no to it. I'm not too sure. Was there other games that? Because wait, now think about Grand Theft Auto 5. It came out on 360, right? And people have been playing it through the next gen.
Yeah.
And now they're be playing it again through another. That's some staying power. Like that is,
bro. Like, honestly, I still played like Vice City when 5 first came out. Like, I don't know, it's something just entertaining about how you don't necessarily have anything to do in those games. You can just drive around and do whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess it's sort of like the concept of all open world games, but I don't know. It just feels different in Grand Theft Auto.
I would agree.
It's like I can play The Witcher and I can run around and do stuff, but it's not even though it's open world, like The Witcher 3 is, at least, it's not the same as Grand Theft Auto, in the fact that, like, in Grand Theft Auto, you're surrounded by all these people and cars. In The Witcher, like, if you go to a town, you will be.
By cars?
No, not cars. Not cars. People. But if you go to, like, if you're just wandering, you might find some, like, little monsters to fight. Possibly a big one every once in a while, from my experience at least. And it's fun, but it ain't Grand Theft Auto free roam fun. It's not like a free roam that I would put on Grand Theft Auto's level.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, while Witcher does boast a sandbox, they're not really sitting on that same thing. Now, have you ever watched the little, like, it's a video from the developers and everyone working on the game of Witcher 3?
I have not.
It's they go into detail about just, there are like random houses that are just there. They have like stories to them, and they're designed, and they're fully fleshed out and fully furnished, and you can just walk to this house that's just completely empty, and it's like, what is this house doing in the middle of nowhere? And that's what they've done it, where they put this. It's really a lot of passion, which is really cool to see. Like CD Projekt talking about that, where there's like again showing from that angle of making the game and just what they went to do it, and also just made me more excited for Cyberpunk 2077 when I learned that they were the ones making it. And they like first announces it's like they're going to go real hard on lore and just trying to make the game something interesting. There's some people who said it might be this marriage between Grand Theft Auto and The Witcher, being CD Projekt, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think I will. I don't know if Cyberpunk 2077 is gonna have multiplayer. I'll probably still end up getting it just to get it, because it's one of those big games, and Keanu Reeves.
Oh yes, Keanu.
But
he will be it.
No, you're amazing. Whatever he says.
Oh yeah.
No, you're beautiful. Whatever. I'll probably still end up getting it because it's one of like those big games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much I will like enjoy it or play it kind of thing. I'm just not sure.
Play it through and then just be done with it kind of thing?
Probably. It'd probably be like one of those games. Like, I'll play through the story, I'll do my thing, but I probably won't play through it a second time.
Oh, okay. So according to sources, that Cyberpunk 2027 will be multiplayer. That's the plan, but it probably won't be for the launch. So they're probably trying to.
It'll be like a Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's single player, but it will,
Exactly, and thinking back to Grand Theft Auto, they're probably just trying to not have the server be destroyed.
They're probably. I would think what they're gonna do, if they're waiting, they're gonna see how many people buy it and then make the servers for it, kind of thing. After they get like an adequate amount of numbers for how many people could be playing online at once, that's when they'll purchase more servers for, to make multiplayer servers. Because like I enjoy single player games, and there are some single player games I will like always play. Like for instance, I want to play Octopath Traveler really bad, and I have it. Like I have it to play.
Yeah. And
every day I want to play it. But every day I have to ask my friends, I'm like, are we playing a game today? Because I will not play Octopath Traveler if we're going to hop on Warzone or something.
Yeah. So it is single player, but you just prefer to do the multiplayer thing.
Yeah, I prefer, competitive multiplayer with friends, preferably. Like, I won't hop on like a Call of Duty game unless I have at least one friend.
Okay. Okay.
It's sort of like the social aspect of it that I enjoy more than the game itself necessarily. So don't get me wrong,
Okay.
if it's a bad game, we're not gonna play it.
No, it makes sense, but I think that's my push when it comes to like couch co-op versus online, like just online multiplayer. That I love couch co-op. But I mean, it goes back to even like the days of Nintendo, just sitting down with just the NES and your siblings or cousins are there just playing this game, either competitively or working together, and then just pushing forward. That's why I think Borderland was such a like a grab for me, because in the age where there's so much like go online, Borderlands was like, nah, you want some friends, just let your friends sit beside you. Because while it is fun, and yes, Call of Duty, I will love playing it. Because even that I would play split screen, or when me and my buddies would playing it on the newer one, would just take turns or whatnot. But there's something different from when you do something silly or epic and your friends online. Yes, they see it, and yes, you cheer or something, but it's just there's a hype to it from when you're right there and you can laugh at them or laugh with them, kind of thing. I guess it's just that human tribalism that still exists in us. It just feeds it more. Because even playing like with Cody, and I tell him that's like, hey, let's just let you know, I'm a master with syntax playing Call of Duty, and then showing him the nonsense that I could do with a syntax. Just going, I'll hit this guy and throw it, and then it just disappears, and then you hit a person, kind of, you get a kill from it. And just his responses of like, but what? It's immediate versus you just like hearing over the mic, which is fine. But again, you see the face, you see the nuance and everything. I think that's really good. But
that was the same way with like me and Josh. We could play Call of Duty and get like crazy, like just throw a throwing knife across the map and get kills with it, kind of thing.
oh, absolutely, yes.
And then me and Josh would also find these hide in plain sight infected game mode hiding spots where like we would be sitting under the plane in terminal. It's like, how do these people not see us? They're running by us like 2 feet in front of us, and they just don't understand where we're at.
Yeah, I think that was because so most of the Call of Duty games I started playing was with my best friend Robert, and just the nonsense that we do. And also, I mean, is it cheating? Not really, because you can do it, but we're split screening it. So I'm doing something, if I get taken down, I go, hey, this guy's to your left, he's camping, or I basically become a secondary radar for him, where I'm like, hey, behind you. And that concept where we're now 2 people, and there's been times where we get the message, hey, how do you like being a hacker or something? So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, how do you know I was there? But it's kind of the concept like, oh, well, because the earlier ones you could tell. It would just go like Red Briar and then like Red Briar parentheses 1 or whatever. It's like, oh, you guys are split screeners or whatever the jargon was. It's like, ooh. But the later on, you could have 2 accounts and so forth, and people are like, how did you know? I was behind you, and we'll get your loadout, and it doesn't make sense to them, but it's like, oh, there's 2 of us on one TV. But again, it's just, I don't know, there's just a different level of it. And then even the concepts of just being a backseat gamer. I love the idea of just letting someone play and just being able to just listen to the story. I just stop having to worry about like progression trees and leveling up, and just let them do it and just enjoy the lore. That's always good as well. I think hopefully more games go back to couch co-op, or at least have it where there's an option of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of good.
That's how I did Silent Hill, like the original one. Part of the second one, I was like, I don't know, I was in like elementary school, and like every day, not every day, every day I was over here, I would say, like with my cousin. Like, literally that night we would stay up from like, it could have been like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. just playing Silent Hill, goofing off.
Yes.
And I would just be like laying on her bed, and she'll be like sitting in the floor. And I remember this one moment where she's opening a door, and every door in the original Silent Hill had a loading screen.
Oh, yeah.
So she had just found this ball, and she had put it down the drain of a sink or something in the bathroom. And that is like, she was looking for how to do that, because we were doing it without any guides.
Mm-hmm.
So she was looking for how to do that for like a few days, because we were young, we didn't understand, we missed something.
Yes.
And as she does it, and she's like, ooh, that was a big thing, because we knew it was a big thing, because there was something leading up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And she hits the door, and it enters the loading screen, and then as it's going out of the loading screen, it goes black before it goes to like the full, maybe it's not like a full loading screen if I remember correctly. It's just like a black screen, and then it's, the room you entered.
Yes.
During that black screen, I let out the biggest fart right behind her head, because that's where I was laying. And she let out the biggest scream ever.
That's fun.
Because it was like 3 a.m. It enters darkness. Cue fart. She thought she was being attacked. It was funny. It was great.
I think that was because Resident Evil 2 was my introduction into the Resident Evil franchise, and that loading screen caused a bit of like this anxiety attack where you're just like, oh gosh, why are we seeing the screen? Because it was like the first time you saw it.
Yeah.
He's like, why is this happening? Why is this the thing that we do now? And then I think, because I think there is one level or one door that it's a loading screen, but then it actually is a zombie attack as well. And so it kind of like finally feeds, like, you had the right to have this fear because here we are. This is what's going on.
All
now,
right.
Are we jumping to our last segment?
Sure, if you didn't have anything else to say.
Oh, no.
Then absolutely.
Cool. So, as it goes, what are you watching, playing, reading, and listening to? So, what do you got for me this week?
I have been reading My Hero Academia. I've been catching up on a manga, Horimiya, which is like some sort of slice of life manga. It was the very first manga I've ever bought, and they actually announced like a full anime for it, so I was like, I gotta catch up on it now. That's what I've been reading. What I've been listening to, just random sets of music, I guess.
Yeah.
For some reason, Ariana Grande is just like being spammed in my YouTube music playlists at this moment.
Okay. Guess you're gonna have to start listening to Ariana Grande.
Yeah, no, I didn't stop it the first time. I was like, oh, this is a pretty good song. And then it just kept putting them in there, like, more and more. And I was like, oh, no.
No, that one, yeah. I always say that there's what's it called? I can't think of the name of the song now. No More Tears. More. I can't think of it. But I always say that would be a really good closing for an anime, which would be very interesting. But the Final Fantasy community loves Ariana Grande. I think she did a video, Japanese video, didn't she? I don't know for Final Fantasy, but I think she actually did a Japanese video.
I think she did too.
And so, like, she has this large, like, granted, she's a great singer, but she has like this surprisingly large Japanese following, which is which is cool.
What I am watching, of course, Lovecraft Country, but that's not what I'll wait for you to say it first. Okay. Because I know you're watching it too. Another thing that I've been watching, like, up to date is ReZero. Now that I mention it, that's another thing I've been reading as well as ReZero. Because, man, let me tell you something. Like, the anime is really good. Like, it's up there in, the top 8 that we said the other day, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you did.
But the anime does leave out some critical pieces. And I don't know if it's on purpose to sort of bring them back into put them as like a missing puzzle piece later on.
Oh.
But the latest episode, they did a few things kind of interesting, because it was the first time without spoiling anything, it's the first time he ever experienced this, and it made him question his whole way of thinking. And the manga did it really well. It showed like all the other characters' like emotions really well, whereas in the anime the emotions were they were more stale, and they weren't in the right environment in which the event happened in.
Okay.
For some of them, I think there was 2 where they weren't in the correct environment. One was supposed to be in a bedroom, and it was out on the lawn field. And then I forget the other one, but I know I had it marked. Anyway, so I think it's really good, but the anime has taken like creative liberties on what they do with that information,
Yeah. You think that it's doing like how you're saying that Fate Stay Night, a lot of fans didn't like it because they spoiled things by putting them in the anime? So you think that ReZero is kind of taking these things out to help build it up?
Yeah, I think they're doing the opposite of the original Fate Stay Night. The one that I don't know what company it was made by or animated by, but I know it wasn't. The first one was not Ufotable. They put stuff in from other, routes. They put stuff in from other routes that wasn't supposed to happen in that route, and it gave away spoilers. But ReZero, I think, is doing the opposite, where they're taking it out, possibly to put it in later to be like an aha moment kind of thing. And that was one of the things that made me start reading it, is I noticed that one of the scenarios was wrong, and I was like, I need to check in on that.
Interesting. And then playing, I don't know if you touched on playing.
Been playing more Phasmophobia, of course. Only do that with friends, because that's more of a 4-player co-op game. It can be like 2 to 4. But again, I don't play multiplayer games without friends, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Been wanting to play Octopath Traveler. Whenever I have free time, I hop on that. And then been playing a lot of Warzone.
Okay.
Making friends angry in Warzone.
And so are you jumping from Warzone to Siege, correct? Or you haven't been playing Siege as much?
We haven't been playing Apex Legends or Siege in the past week or so. I think we're gonna try and get back on Siege at least. Apex Legends, I know I'm gonna get on there and do some more with the battle pass that I got, but other than that, I don't know.
Okay.
The new hero in Apex Legends is really, like, at least when she first came out, her name's Rampart.
Yes.
She has the giant Gatling gun, which that's her ultimate, and she can have 3 of those out at a time. 1 for every teammate. Not to mention, she has these, like, portable shields, like she has 3 of them. the bottom of it's metal, and the top of it's like a force field. And if she shoots through the force field, it powers her bullets. So not only does this Gatling gun have like no recoil and shoots like it has no recoil, or had none. I don't know about now. It has the ammo capacity of like 200 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And it sprays them all out like an SMG with rapid fire.
Wonderful.
So it was just like, I don't really want to play against this at the moment. I'm gonna let them balance that out.
That makes sense.
Well, how about you?
So watching, I'm watching also, of course, Lovecraft Country. But before that, though, I'm also watching a show called Undone. That one I'm watching it on Amazon Prime, and it's a rotoscoped show. So everything is acted, and then they just draw over it. What led me to, or just kind of like attracted me to that, is because if you ever seen a movie with Mr. Keanu Reeves called Scanner Darkly, or A Scanner Darkly, which is entirely rotoscoped as well. And it's a great show. This woman, she gets in a car accident after seeing something strange, and it's just her bouncing the concepts of this new reality, literally with life, then trying to kind of mend her relationships in a way, giving herself a second chance in multiple ways, giving herself a second chance. But the stars in there, one of the stars at least is a lady named Rosa Salazar, which she was in Alita, so Battle Angel. And obviously her performance in that movie is what stands out, like just the way that she moved, like just her facial expressions. Again, like that's my thing, is micro expressions and nuance. Like it will enrapture me. And so she's also been in movies like Bird Box and so forth, but her performance is very important. I think it's very indicative to the actress herself, because the character should be on paper kind of a toxic person that you just wouldn't want to root for or like.
Yeah.
But just like her silly, like they're talking about, I forgot what they're talking about. Something in there was just her father and her were having a discussion about the native Mexican tribes. So the Mesoamerica, and just the actress kind of putting like this weird like smile and shoulder shrug in there because she's being silly and she got reprimanded. And so there have been points where, while it's all animated, that you'll see that you'll forget that it's animation. And honestly, I think that if they ever did a Dungeons and Dragons show, that's the route they should go, because they're cutting down on the budget because they don't have to do CG when they can just draw it.
I think if they make a Dungeons and Dragons movie again, they need to make it that 720-hour movie. Let's be honest.
720 hours of D&D. I love D&D, but I don't know if I could sit through 720 hours of it. Like, I guess if they would go, 24 hours in a day, so they'll basically do 24 different games, maybe? I don't know. Or just, and then have them basically as a series of, complete series.
Complete campaign.
That'd be kind of crazy. But yeah, it's a really, really good show. Dealing with things like quantum mechanics and quantum physics, so that's my jam. But yeah, her character also reminds me of I think it's Marianne. It's this French show. It's horror. It comes on Netflix is where I saw it. So a writer goes to her hometown after a tragic death, and so she's just trying to kind of just check on her parents and make sure everything is okay. And then she's starting to realize that what she wrote about in her award-winning books that got her famous might be reality. That character as well, she's super toxic and just abrasive and absorbic, but it's the character's development that you go, oh, okay, this is why she's like that. I know like some people can't get past her for the first episode, but it's just kind of like, no, hang in there, you'll see. And it's kind of almost like people themselves, where you have to go, why are you like this? And it's like, okay, well, at least you have the benefit to see why this person's like that. But also watching is a bunch of Craftman. Have you ever seen Craftman? I think I've probably linked to you.
Possibly.
So is there a puppet with a really cool, chill voice, and he just does crafts. So everything nerddom, he's doing it. He's been kind of equated to Bob Ross. He's quiet
the puppet
and chill.
Bob Ross.
He's been called the puppet Bob Ross. He has. Bob Ross with Soul, Puppet Bob Ross, Craftman Bob Ross, and then also been watching a lot of Bob Ross. And then just with playing, I've been playing Guardian Tales, and I was just like, I just wanted an RPG, little cutesy sprites and so forth, and now I'm just putting in the work, doing all this stuff, where I'm like, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, and I'm like, okay, fine. And every aspect about Guardian Tales, it's so you have your RPG elements of top-down isometric maps, so like Legend of Zelda. But then when you're used to doing this, then they go, oh, but you can do arenas. Okay, I'll do a little bit of arenas. But it's like, but you can do this like harvesting thing like Farmville or Diner Dash or whatever. And it's like, I don't want to do this. But there's all these cool things. Fine, I'll do it. And you find yourself playing along. And I think one of the charms to this game is that the pop culture references, like they go hard with pop culture references. And they do it in a way where sometimes it's like, can you do that legally? And other times it's like, oh, I get that reference. But it's a fun little game. I'll probably play it for a little bit longer and then put it down or try to beat it and just leave it be. So it won't be another Bazombeat situation. And then with reading, still on American Gods, but also The Secret. Two books that speak for themselves, but definitely like good little reads, especially with this whole like dark and stormy, rainy situation right now. But yeah, Lovecraft Country, how you feeling right there? The 6th episode in.
I think it was good and interesting.
Yes,
I was not. Yeah. I was expecting something like that, and I'll say, when I saw The Machine, that's all I'll say about it. I expected something along those lines, especially once she deciphered the thing, the little statue, whatever the crap thing. I don't want to give it away at all, but whenever she deciphered it and found out what it meant and how that went with this, I was like, oh crap, we're about to see some weird stuff. And I was right.
Yeah, they did not disappoint. I think that's...
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, I think the only thing I was disappointed in was the animation, or like the special effects during the fight scene or whatever.
Okay.
Because it's like you've seen what HBO can do. I think it's made by HBO. I'm pretty sure it is. But
it is.
You've seen what HBO can do with Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that just it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. I didn't like it. But otherwise, the story and every other thing except for that one scene I enjoyed.
Yeah. Is a very interesting thing with Lovecraft Country, where they will give you a character, and I won't say they're superficial, but yeah, they come off as just like, this is a character in the background. And then they'll like, well, now let's dive into the character a little bit. And now you're seeing that as you thought this character was not what the character could be or should be or who they are at all. Because they did this one, and then previously, was it two back, they did another character where it's just her story. Yeah, it's the last line, so it's just like kind of not really her story, but you know what I mean. Just like her, it's just revolving around her this episode.
Yeah.
So too bad. Yeah. Well, even I guess both, all three. Now I think about it, all three kind of did that, where they're just like these characters, the main characters, kind of take a back seat in a way, and they'll allow other characters to now drive the story, but yet the other characters are still present, or the main character is still present, and it doesn't feel like a filler episode.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to get people like excited, because it's slowing down the pace of the story because you're seeing it from a different point of view, kind of thing. While it's still progressing it, but it's not progressing it via the main characters. It's from the side, so it makes people excited to get back to the main, because they know when it does, it's like all the stuff is unfolded. We're about to have a lot of information shoved into us, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably one of its strengths out of anything else in the show. I mean, of course, the acting and the story. But I think that's one of the strengths as well, where you're made to care about the characters. Well, I mean, at least with me, I cared about the characters before when they're first like introduced and at least showing some facet of who they are. And then going into a whole story about them, then you're like, okay, well, this is them, this is who they are. And even when you're caring about them, again, that's kind of like a snapshot of who they are, and going to these full stories, you see the rest of that, the face of the moon kind of thing, and you're like, oh wow, they're this, and that's what they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's very important and really great storytelling. I think taking another show, but if you ever seen like Dragon Prince. It's animated. They succeed in doing the animation CG, where unfortunately Berserk kind of fails. But one thing that I really took away from the first season of Dragon Prince was that all the characters were likable. Like even the antagonist, even the quote-unquote villain of the story, they all seemed like genuine characters, and not just like, I'm evil because I'm evil, or I'm doing this because the boss said so. They were just like, well, everyone time they're on the screen, because there's a brother and sister that are technically antagonists, and their banter back and forth and how they act, they don't seem like our father is bad, we love him and we should do. They're like, no, they're goofing with each other. They'll say silly stuff. They'll pick at each other, and they're both likable. You can watch the whole show with just them trying to get to where they need to go. And that's a very interesting thing that I think more shows should do, that where if it's not going to be about the main characters, then make the other characters just as important versus generic character A, B, and C. And so hopefully more shows are like that, I think.
Well,
but we'll see.
If that's the end of that segment, is there any D&D topics that you would like to talk about?
I'm working on a bunch of different ideas, trying to build a table. Just finished up a dice tray, 2 of them at once, which is a very crazy how well that went together. Usually it's like, okay, a whole day, but it's literally just bought the felt, stained them, and then got them done. So that knocked out. And then just to reiterate, when the Tasha's Cauldron of everything comes out, I really would like to do a show more dedicated to that one. More so, we'll still have a lot of the news and up-to-dates, but I think that should change what their segment should be.
Yeah.
Just so we can do like a nice little deep dive. I think it'll be kind of fun. Getting more of the D&D players that want to like ask questions and then just kind of go into it and see what they might like and what they could be excited about. I think it'd be really, really cool.
I most certainly agree.
Yeah.
Well, something about my game that I can share is that my players have now. Last week's session was kind of slow, moved to a new venue, so I wanted to take it a little bit easier. Before we just jump right in, I wanted to make sure people were comfortable with the environment and everything, you know?
Acclimate them like fish.
Yeah.
That's funny. Did you put them in a bag and just let them stay for a bit and check the temperature? That's wonderful.
So the game went a little bit slower, and that was fine. We ended an hour earlier than normal. But that set up a good stage because they got to a volcanic island that is, for all purposes, just insanely hot around the edges of the island because it's constantly growing through magma and water. It's expanding the island, so it was hard for them to get onto the island to begin with, and it's going to be even more interesting to see them get off. I think they've already come to that realization because the way they got on the island, it's kind of obvious. This isn't giving anything away. They got on the island to destroy an object, but that object is what got them off the boat onto the island. So it's kind of like, how are they gonna get off the island?
Now, as a DM, what is your bread and butter? Do you prefer more RP, more like combat, more puzzles? Like, what is your bread and butter? Or problem solving? It's not just puzzles, but problem solving.
I enjoy a good So if we cut it, okay, I like at least 3/4. Okay, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I like more RP than I like combat because I just found that my players it looks like they enjoy RP more than they enjoy the combat. Yeah. So I try to make it to where, like, instead of them having a bunch of small combats, and then like a big one, they'll have maybe like one small one that's big for a small combat, but they have enough items that can like even that out, and then have one really big combat. And then most of it is either problem solving with their spells, and then RP, talking to NPCs, figuring out what they need to do, stuff like that.
Okay.
But if I saw that they were getting tired of RP all the time, I would 100% swap it to be more of a dungeon crawler feel.
Exactly.
So it's like I have at least, I'm not gonna say how many because I don't want my players to know, but I have a good amount of dungeons made.
Yeah.
That at any point, if I feel like they're getting bored, I can throw it at them. Straight up curveball. You thought you were going to talk to an NPC dungeon.
Yeah. Well, think about it. That's where so our players, this is like pre your character.
Pre-Nazir.
Probably just pre-Nazir. But that concept where it's like, oh, we're just gonna go to an orphanage and talk to some people. Oh, there's a hag. Oh, now we're in the Shadowfell. You know what I mean? Like, whole arc. Like, that's where they end up, kind of thing.
Incoherent screaming ensues.
I mean, I don't think it's really a secret, but I do enjoy it where if the previous sessions, like 2 or 3 sessions I tried to do like 1 or 2 sessions were all combat. I do like that moment of grace where it's more like RP.
Yeah.
I think that balance between really helps. Just keeps it that way where, again, it's not always, I know there's some people like it where it's just like, I go to dungeon, I kill monster, I move on. Gold, yes, no, pay. And while
Yes,
others
no.
are just, others are just like, let's go straight up like, who am I? Where's my father? RP everywhere. So, I mean, that, again, I love it both. Like, I can literally, there have been times where I can just sit down and just, I don't have to do anything except like the questions that need to be asked to the NPCs, and it's literally just all of you just RPing away, which is completely fine by me. Or if it's just like all of you are in combat and then something happens, and it's just that wheel when it's just like when it just switches over, the switch is flipped where they're just like, this character is hurt. We now have to do strategy, not just I hack and slash. It's like, no, if I don't do this, this character will die, or we might die if we don't do this. And I love when it goes from just hit it to, oh, wait, hold on. We have to think of how to hit it. I love that. I completely love it. But yeah, so either way, like if it's RP, like I like to switch it up, but I love, again, as a DM, I think that it's, I'm fortunate to have such a good group of players. But yeah, so I like the balance of it. Puzzles, I might throw some more puzzles at all of you, but I think sometimes I put the puzzles in the way of problem solving.
I like puzzles.
But we might see.
I feel like if we ever did some sort of D&D live stream, which I want to do, right? I want to do some sort of, even if it's like a one-off thing.
Oh yeah.
I would want faces shown, because I don't know if you notice, but I personally I think a lot of like my RP comes from my facial expression.
Yes.
Just like that dumbfounded face when the barbarian's like, I'm gonna do this. It's like, what? And it, like, of course you can't see it, but I'm making a face.
Oh yeah.
And then when I just like look down and I look up and I look like that cat from that meme where the woman's like pointing at him.
Yeah. It's just a thing. Yeah, I think that captures a lot of stuff because there are some things that happen in the game. That's why I love the audio that I'll have. But there are some parts where I'll look over and the player's just kind of like, but why? Or, oh man. And they're kind of looking at you, or looking at like something dire's popping, and they look at you and then look at another player and like, oh no, what's about to happen? What's about to go on? And I think that's a really good, you can get to see the gears turning.
Like that whole like 30-minute to an hour long segment of me just miming.
Yes. So on audio, it's just someone asks you a question and then they're just quiet.
And then people just start laughing.
Yeah, it's very like, that's a very, very funny thing. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, because our game is now this Sunday coming up.
Yes.
And the wonderful nonsense that might be.
I want death. Puzzles.
Okay. Writing it down. Writing death. Puzzles. So you want a puzzling death? Gotcha.
Yeah. More puzzles.
You say that, but I know Noah, which is very funny, because he plays the part of the barbarian, and he's like, oh man, I'm not smart at this, but by God, he deduces like a Sherlock Holmes. Like, there are things that he would say, and they'd be like, this is what this is, as a player, or even as Damocles, his barbarian. But then people are like, no, that's not it. He's like, okay. And then it's the whole time I'm behind the screen like, oh my gosh, this dude is like, he's a savant. Like, he's figured it out. Which I might start doing, like surprise, but I might start doing where I will award or start reward players for like their lore gathering. Like if there's something they figure out in the lore that might, you know what, that's some beautiful brain work you've done there. So here's inspiration for it, because he'll do it, and then he'd be like, oh, I never get it. I'm like, no, You're getting it.
I think
I'll probably just do it at the end, though.
one of my favorite moments of at least me knowing something that no one else put together was when I entered Brielle's room, and then there's just these chickens flapping flour all over the room, and everyone's like, "What?" And then as soon as I go in there, I'm like, I'm just gonna ignore it, and I was like, wait a second. And then as soon as I said that, it's like you're like, oh, he figured it out. We got to do it now.
Oh, but it was already happening. That's the best part. Like, it was already happening. I was like, there's a jar coming through the window, and then you're like, oh my god, it's a flower bomb.
Everyone's just like flower bomb. I'm like, bro, flour easily combusts when it's in the air. And then you cut, and it's just like, so Fior, just in the distance, you're sitting there, you're reading, and you just hear an explosion off in the distance.
Boom in the night, yeah. Because you've actually done it before that too. The Beholder eye stalks, and the Spectator. You're like, this is what makes Spectators. I feel like those were those eye stalks before, but everyone was like in battle with Zymarcus, so I think even the Paladins. So Taurus was kind of like, I don't have time for that. I'm just pissed off at this guy. And so he kind of just like, whatever. But yeah, you figured that one out as well.
All right.
What you like?
Well, I think we went 4 minutes over, but that makes up for the maybe 5 minutes my internet went down. So with that, we are going to end tonight's episode of the PiP. If you are listening to this and not watching, make sure you hit the follow button. And if you would like, check out the PiP Podcast on Facebook and YouTube for previews, letting you know when we're live, updates, possible guest hints. And yeah, we will see you guys on next Tuesday.
Have a good night.